You'll see him in the forum and say, they're the 12 tables.
I'm one who commands, ruling all provinces in my empire. Build aqueducts and say my name's Augustus. It's the Pax Romana.
Salvete omnes, salvete amici. Welcome to the stream this evening. Let's do a sound check. Let's make sure that we can hear everything. That looks pretty good over there. I think I'm seeing some green bars. That's always nice to see when you're doing a stream this evening. Nomen mihi est Decimus Aurelius Ingeniarius Tribunus Plebis. Hello, I'm Decimus Aurelius, and I am from Provincia, Australia, for Nova Roma. Nova Roma, one of the oldest or original Roman revivalist organizations, originally founded in the US but now worldwide, where we learn, educate, understand, and grow through the Romanatus and Mos Maiorum of that is what is the Roman culture, food, language, clothing, military history, civil history, politics, you name it. Very much drawn and a huge draw card for anybody that appreciates everything and all things Roman. This channel is the Australian reflection of that. We're pleased that you can join us and partake. We'd love to hear your opinions. Please drop us a follow, have a comment in the chat about anything Roman that you wish to talk about. But we do have a little bit of a focus this evening. We always like to have a little bit of a focus. What we've done, what we're doing tonight, and what we were doing last week, I think it was last Monday, a week ago, we've started doing a little bit more Latin practice and learning of Latin. And we're using a book series called Lingua Latina per se Illustrata. If I've got my pronunciation correctly, hopefully my magistra, my teacher, who's been coaching me online also from Nova Roma, she will be sure to check my pronunciation. Now, to help us with our pronunciation going through this book, and it's available online, you can buy ebook versions as well. We're using a YouTube channel of a fairly fluent and well-rehearsed Latin speaker, and that's through the ScorpioMartianus, or so Martianus, there we go, I got that better that time. ScorpioMartianus, he's got 45,000 subscribers there. Go over to his channel there. And the gentleman there, he is fantastic at doing the Latin pronunciations, and he follows through nearly this entire book and all the chapters. So what we do in these set Latin lessons here is we listen to him pronounce some of the sentences first, that which I'll show on screen as well. We'll give it a go. You at home can assess me on my pronunciation, and then we see if we can translate it on the fly. So last week we'd started with chapter 1, or capitula, if I got that right, cap 1, and started about halfway through chapter 2. So we're at the bottom of page 14 of Lingua Latina. The second edition is the one that we're looking at, book 1, and you can certainly follow along with us at home if you'd like to be a part of our journey here. This book is unique for any of those that haven't seen this book series before, Lingua Latina per se Illustrata. It is all in Latin, so there is no other text in any other language, but it's written in such a way that it helps you to deduce the understanding of the words without it having to directly quote in your own native language. And it gives some grammar rules, still in Latin, in the margins to really emphasize some points. And it's amazing, even just after one chapter or 1.5 chapters, we're translating whole sentences now. It slowly introduces new words in unique ways, in question and answer formats, for us to, again, deduce what the meaning of each word is. And it's amazing. You're learning without knowing that you're learning. And we'll continue to translate on the fly as we go through our little streaming online sessions here. So let us now cross to, I guess, our little lesson. So this is just on YouTube. So again, for those that are looking to follow along, ScorpioMartianus is the channel, all one word. You're looking for a profile with red scorpions in the image. And he does a lot of things on the Latin language, and part of one of his playlists there is doing all the read-through and the pronunciation of the Lingua Latina series. And it's been very helpful for us to practice that pronunciation. There's only been a few difficult words that I've struggled with. Had to give it a go a few times, and we'll see how we go this evening. So we're starting roughly where we left off with at the end of our last lesson. If you didn't see that, it's in the videos below in this channel. Or you can catch it on our YouTube channel. Just look up Ost Nova Roma or Australia Nova Romana. That video for the last lesson we did is also on YouTube, and that might be a good place to start, is to read along through chapter 1 with me, and then you can catch up to here as well. So whether you're watching this live or in the future, you'll be at the same sort of level of Latin understanding as I am. Okay, so we're ready to go here. It looks like the audio for the YouTube channel is good to go. My audio is good to go. Let's have a listen. So we're going to start with this duo et tres line here. We'll do some reading ourselves and give that a whirl. Okay, here we go.
Duo et tres numeri sunt. Centum quoque numerus est. Numerus servorum centum.
Okay, so before it skips over the next page, so let's have a go at what we've just read there. So, duo et tres numeri sunt, centum quoque numerus est, numerus servorum est centum. So, what that's saying here is 2, we know that's duo, et tres, so and 3, numeri sunt, are numbers, so numeri being the plural form of numerus. And we have centum quoque numerus est, so centum is the word for 100. Quoque is also numerus est, so it's saying 100 is also a number, and I certainly agree with that. Numerus servorum est centum. So it's saying the number of slaves is 100, or there are 100 slaves, or a number of 100 slaves. Again, we're talking about the family that we've been introduced to in the second chapter here. So it's just reminding us that this family, the Julius family, has 100 slaves, which is quite the number. Okay, let's go on to the next page.
Numerus liberorum tres.
So reminding ourselves, I just want to get that so we don't forget that. So numerus
Centum. Numerus liberorum
est tres. So that is saying, so the number of children is 3. Let's get that out of the way because it's broken across pages. Pretty happy that liberum is the children here, and the aurum of children. So of, I guess, more of a type of possessive there. Est tres, so is 3. So the number of children is 3.
Cento est magnus numerus. Tres parvus numerus est. Numerus servorum magnus. Numerus liberorum parvus est. In familia Julii magnus numerus servorum parvus numerus liberorum.
Okay, that's a good stopping point there. Now let's have a look at the margin here. So it has magnus numerus servorum servorum. Let's get that pronunciation right and the right amount of syllables there. Servorum. And it's telling us that is equal to multi servi. So a great number of slaves. And we see servus is in that O-R-U-M ending. So that means of is what I've come to learn here. So a great number of slaves is equal to many slaves. And that association makes sense. Multi servi, where multus is in the plural form, the same as the servi there. Servi is the plural form of servus, which is a male slave. And I guess it's showing us perhaps the opposite of that there. So saying parvus numerus liberum. I've got to really practice that pronunciation. Liberorum. And that is equal to pauci liberi. So it's saying parvus numerus liber. So a small number of children is equivalent to few children in that case there. So parvus and pauci, I often will get those confused. So if I do during this lesson, please remind me. So parvus I understand to be small, the opposite of magnus, and pauci means few, which is the opposite of multi. So a small number of children is equivalent to a few children, which makes sense. Now there is we'll have a look at this other note that's down here. So it's got multique, And we know that the QE ending put on the end of the words here is another a way of saying and. So it's saying and many is essentially what I'm picking up from that statement. But anyway, let's go through the sentences you just read out. So we've got centum est magnus numerus, tres parvus numerus est, numerus severum est magnus, numerus liberorum parvus est. Still practicing my pronunciation there. In familia Iuli magnus numerus severum parvus numerus liberorum est. So what we've got here is 100. 100 is a great number. So numerus is and we've got magnus here. So that is like the adjective in this case. We notice the word order is different, but the adjective is in agreement with the number, the male number here. So numerus, and then we have tres parvus numerus est, so 3, and we've got parvus numerus est, so 3 is a small number. Numerus severum est magnus, so the number of slaves is great. Numerus liberorum parvus est, so the number of children is small. So we're really starting to enforce the relationship and learning the numbers and the descriptions here, so this is good. And then I think we finish off with in familia Iuli magnus numerus severum parvus numerus liberorum est. So in the Julian family, there is a great number of slaves, a small number of children. Great. Okay, I think we're doing pretty well. So far. If you've just joined us on stream, we are learning Latin from the Lingua Latina series. We're at the top of page 15 right now. If you'd like to follow along, you can head to the ScorpioMartianus YouTube channel of somebody who does a great set of pronunciation in Latin. Have some tea. Okay, let's continue to listen to him and see how we go.
Medus servus graecus est. Delia stanquilla graeca. In familia Iulii sunt multi servi graeci multae quanquillae graecae. Est naemilia femina graeca? Aemilia non est femina graeca, sed Romana. Iulius non vir Graecus, sed Romanus est.
Okay, so we have medus servus Graecus est. So medus is, we understand, to be one of the slaves, and it says he is a Greek slave. Servus being male, so he's a Greek male slave. Delia est ancilla Graeca. So we have Delia, which we know is one of the other slaves, is a Greek slave as well, but we see the different word, ancilla, which we've learned is the word for female slave. So they have a different word for male slave and a different word for female slave. And then it continues. So it says, in familia Iuli sunt multi servi Graeci multaque in ancillae Graecae. So in the Julian family, there are many Greek slaves and many, so the multique, and many Greek slaves again, but we're implying female. So there are many Greek male slaves, and there are many Greek female slaves. Is the gist of that sentence. And it says, Esne Aemilia femina Graeca. So it is asking, and we know that esne and the ne ending is implying a question. So is Aemilia a Greek woman? Where we know femina is woman. Graeca with the a ending as the adjective to femina, which is feminine. So we had the feminine ending for with Graeca. So is she a Greek woman? And it then goes on to say, Aemilia non est femina Graeca. So she is not a Greek woman. Sed Romana, so but she's Roman. Julius non vir Graecus, sed Romanus est. So saying Julius is not a Greek man, but is Roman. Cool. So we both know that Aemilia et Julius Graecus, non Graecus, sed Romanus. So they are not Greek, but they are Roman. Very good. How are we doing? Checking our stats. Our stream is still still good quality, and volume is still fantastic. All right, taking a tea break, and let's continue to listen to him through the next paragraph here. It helps if I have the correct window. There we go.
Sparta oppidum caraecum est. Sparta delphi tusculumque tria oppida sunt. Duoppida Graeca et un oppidum Romanum. In Graecia et in Italia magnus numerus oppidorum est. In Gallia est magnus numerus fluiorum.
Okay, that'll do before it disappears off our screen. So, looking across to the margin, we see the tres tria, and it's giving us some other examples here by the looks of it. So, different variants of the word three. So we have tres liberi. Okay, so we see, and it's italicized the E with the macron. So tres liberi, 3 children. And we have tres literae, so we have 3 letters. But when we come to a feminine word like opida, which means town, it has tria. So I guess it adopts a feminine ending, which is interesting. So we see that uno, duo, and tres change based on some of the words that they encounter. Okay. And then we have some more explanation here for some words and some comparisons. We have magnus, numerus, opidorum, and we know that that means a great number of cities is what that translates to. And we have that aurum, O-R-U-M ending, of, we understand that to be of. And that is equal to multa oppida, many cities, where again, oppida is feminine, so multa has the feminine ending as well as the adjective or the description to the noun. And then we have magnus numerus fluiorum, so great number of rivers. So we know fluvius means river, fluiorum is of rivers, and that is equal to multi flui magni, so many rivers. But I think that might be the next line, but we see there's magni, and there's this NE ending. So we know that the NE creates a question, and I guess this is implying, can something be great, or is it great? Is the way I'm understanding that. Magnini. That would be interesting to see how he pronunciates that. Pronunciates? That's not a word. How he pronounces that. We get up to that word next. So there it is here. So let's have a listen to how he pronounces when we get there. But let's have a practice of pronouncing that paragraph. So we have Sparta oppidum Graecum est. Sparta is a Greek city. I'm happy with that. And we have Sparta, Delphi, Tusculumque, tria oppida sunt. So we've got Sparta, Delphi, and Tusculum are 3 cities. Good. And it's giving us a description here. So duo oppida Graeca et unum oppidum Romanum. So 2 are Greek cities and 1 unum is a Roman city. We see the neuter num ending coming in here. And it says, in Graecia et in Italia magnus numerus opidorum est. So in Greece and in Italy, there is a great number of towns or cities. In Gallia est magnus numerus fluiorum. So in Gaul, there is a great number of rivers, with the aurum meaning of. Cool, okay, and then let's hear the next section here from our friend.
Flui Galliae magni sunt.
And here's that word.
Magnine sunt flui Africae.
Magnin. So it sort of just carries through. Interesting. So we've got flui Galliae magni sunt. So that means Gaulish rivers are great. We see magni in the plural here, because we have flui, which is many, so rivers, plural. Galliae, which I guess is a plural form, which also matches that as well. And sunt is are. So magni. Let's go back and hear that again. I think I've got that wrong. Let's really listen to that word.
Sunt. Magnine sunt
Magnine. Let's go back and listen one more time.
galliae magni sunt. Magnine sunt
Magnine. Okay, so I'm hearing magnine, and it sort of fades away there. And we saw that implied over here in the margin. So I guess our initial deduction, without reading anything else yet, is that we know the NE it presents a question in a question form, and it's attached to what we know as magnus. And magni is a plural form. So multiple great or many great. So let's have a read of the sentence here, or let's listen to that, and let's see what we can imply for this new word combination.
flui Africae. In Africa unus fluius magnus est, Nilus. Caeteri flui Africae parvi sunt. Sunt ne magni insulae Graecae.
Okay, so let's pause it there before it disappears. Okay, so we're magnine sunt flui Africae. So I read that to be, are there great rivers in Africa? Sunt, which is are, flui, which is multiple rivers or plural rivers, plural of river, rivers. Africae is Africa, we know that. So are there great rivers in Africa? So that's interesting to see that. I wonder if we can do that with other words in that form. And it says, in Africa unus fluvius magnus est, Nilus, ceteri flui Africae parvi sunt. So that says in Africa there is one great river, which is Nilus, which is the Nile. And then it goes on to say, ceteri flui Africae parvi sunt. So ceteri, I think we worked out to mean others. So other African rivers are small, is what I understand that to be. So it's clarifying the original statement that there is only one great river and the rest of them, the others, are just small. Cool, okay.
Creta Teuboia dua insulae magnae sunt. Caetera insulae Graecae sunt parvae.
So we have Sutne Magna Insulae Graecae. It's amazing Latin and how it all seems to rhythmically rhyme and match as it goes along. Very, very poetic language. So we have a question posed again here. And I guess this is another form of the sentence we just saw before. So instead of saying multni, let's go back. Is that the word I was struggling with? I think it was. Let's go back up a little bit further. Let's see that word. Magne. Magne. I want to hear him say it again. This is a real struggle.
Africae
Oh, a little bit further back.
Galliae magni sunt. Magnine sunt fluia.
Magnine. I guess I just have to slow it down and we can really spell that out. So magnine sunt flui Africae. So saying, are there a great number of rivers in Africa? And then we can go back down here again. Sutne magna insulae Graecae, all the very similar endings there. So are there great islands in Greece? And it says Creta et Eoboa duae insulae magnae sunt. So we're saying Crete and Eoboa, I don't know if there's an English translation of that, are two great rivers. So we see the R at the end here. Two is two great rivers. And we know that because insula is feminine, we see the plural version. So we see all the endings matching here. So magnae, duae, insulae, all the endings are matching. And it clarifies to say that ceterae insulae Graecae sunt parvae, saying the other Greek islands are small. Great. All right. Now, it appears we are being introduced to another person. Cornelius. The strapping young fellow over there on the right-hand side in the margin. So we're being introduced to a new person now. So line 111. Let's see if we can continue on with listening to the pronunciation.
Creta teuboia dua insulae magnae sunt,
Finish off the sentence.
Cetera insulae
Cetera
Graecae
insulae
sunt parvae.
Great. Okay, here we go.
Quis est Cornelius? Cornelius Dominus Romanus est. Iulius et Cornelius duo Domini Romani sunt. Medus non est servus Cornelii. Medus servus Iulii est.
Okay. Have a cup of tea while we contemplate what's just being said. So we're being introduced here. So we have quis est Cornelius. We know that quis is who. So who's Cornelius? Great question. Cornelius Dominus Romanus est. We're pretty happy with all those words. So Cornelius is a Roman and Dominus master, which we come to know as a slave owner. But yes, he's Roman. His name is Cornelius. Okay. And we have Iulius et Cornelius duo Domini Romani sunt. And we're clarifying or matching to what we already know with Julius. So we have Julius and Cornelius are two Roman masters. Okay. So we have Medus non est servus Cornelii, Medus servus Iulii est. So we know that Medus is one of Julius's slaves. So it's saying here that Medus is not one of Cornelius's slaves, where we see the genitive form here for Cornelius. But we're clarifying it to say that Medus servus Iulii est. So Medus is one of Julius's slaves. And now we see a speech. Not a speech, but I guess a conversation that's happening here. So let's have a listen to this conversation and see what happens.
Cornelius. Cuius servus est Medus? Iulius. Medus servus meus est. Cornelius. Est ne Davus servus tuus? Iulius. Davus quoque servus meus est. Servi mei sunt Medus et Davus et ceteri multi. Cornelius. Est ne deli ancilla tua?
Good, we paused there. So let's talk through this conversation that Cornelius and Julius are having, and let's see what happens. So Cornelius says, Cuius servus est Medus. We know cuius is, that was a word I struggled to learn the definition of, but I understand it to be whose. And it is a different form of quis and que. I think it's a genitive form, if I'm not mistaken, which is a little bit different from what I was expecting. But cuius, whose slave is Medus, essentially. So Medus is the slave of who. Servus being male slave, Medus being one of the slaves. So Cornelius is asking this of Julius, having perhaps seen Medus somewhere, and then Julius responds, Medus servus meus est. So we're introduced to a new word here, which is meus, and we see in the margin on the right hand side it says meus can have, again, all the typical endings, the male ending, the female ending, and the neuter ending. So meus, mea, and meum. Because Medus is male and servus is the male version, therefore meos is male in this form as well. And all that understands here is Medus is my slave here. And then Cornelius responds, Esne Davus servus tuus. So is Davus your slave? So tuus, and we see in the right hand column, it has the three forms as well. So he's clarifying, having perhaps also seen Davus in the street. So Cornelius asks, right, is Davus your slave? Tuus, your, in this case. Tu. And then Julius responds, Davus quoque servus meus est. Servi me sunt Medus et Davus et ceteri multi. So he's saying that Davus is also my slave. My slaves are Medus and Davus and many others. Ceteri meaning others. Multi, which is in the plural form of multiple or many. Ceteri is therefore, because we're saying others plural, so that's in a plural form, which is good. Servi, which is multiple here, so my slaves are. And then Cornelius responds, Esne delia ancilla tua. So here's a different version of the word your, but in the feminine form. And we ask the question here, Esne is delia your female slave? Okay, and let's see how the conversation continues.
Julius, delias ancilla mea, et syraquoc ancilla meast. Ancillae meae sunt deli et syret caeterae multae. Familia mea magnast. Cornelius.
So let's just clarify what's been said here. So we have Julius says, Delia est ancilla mea et syra quoque ancilla mea est. So Delia is my female slave, and Syra is also my female slave. And then he goes on to say, Ancillae meae sunt Delia et Syra et ceterae multae. So he's saying, my female slaves are Delia and Syra and many others. And we see this feminine plural form here. And then he goes, Familia mea magna est. My family is great, as in many, or my family is large. Okay, what does Cornelius have to say to that?
Quod servi sunt in familia tua, Julius? In familia mea sunt centum servi. Cornelius. Quid? Julius. Numerus servorum meorum est centum. Cornelius. Centum servi? Magnus est numerus servorum tuorum.
Oh, go back. We want to translate that page. So Cornelius here says, Quod servi sunt in familia tua. So he says, how many, quot I think is number, is like a number, it's asking how many. And tua is your family, is so in your family. How many slaves are in your family, is what that sentence says. Cool, okay, we've got that. Julius responds with, in familia mea sunt centum servi. So it says, in my family, there are 100 slaves. Centum being 100. And we see the plural form of servus with servi here. And Cornelius goes, how many? Which is quid. In perhaps surprise, Cornelius maybe doesn't have as many slaves. And then Julius responds, numerus severum meorum est centum, which means, so we have numerus, which is the number. So the number of slaves, and we have meorum. So the number of my slaves is 100. So me, which I think is, and with seorum. So this O-R-U-M ending is of. So the number of my slaves is 100. And that's the way I understand that sentence to be. And then, Julius is clarifying for Cornelius. And then Cornelius responds, Centum servi magnus est numerus severum tuorum. So he goes, 100 slaves, he exclaims. He goes, that is a great number of, you have a great number of slaves. Or that is a great number of slaves you have. So magnus est is a great, numerus is a great number of your slaves. Tuorum of yours. So he's remarking that the amount of slaves you have is quite a large number. Wow, cool. All right, let's continue. Now we're being introduced to some images here. Hopefully we get to see those images on the next page. Let's have a look. So we're changing tack a little.
Magnus est numerus servorum tuorum.
There we go. Here are those pictures. So we have ecce duo libri. So that's a new word, ecce, but it's highlighting to us some things on the page. So we have liber antiquus on that side, and then I guess what we didn't see the other image before is liber novus. There we go. So liber novus, and then
servorum tuorum.
And then we have liber antiquus. So that looks very similar to the word antique. So I'm guessing we've got an old book and a new book. So we can only assume that ecce means look, something to do with look at these two books, or pay attention to these two books. What else is it clarifying? So we have unus liber and duo libri. So it's clarifying us the singular and the plural for what is, I believe, to be book, which is liber. And then we have a new word here, which is novus, has an A feminine ending and neuter ending as well. And I can only mean that means more new or new book. And then we have antiquus, which we thought was to be like old or antique. And again, it has feminine, neuter, and male endings as well. So let's have a read and listen of Liber Tuus Latinus, and see what has to be said here.
Liber tuus Latinus. Ecce duo libri Latini, liber antiquus et liber novus. Lingua Latina est primus liber tuus Latinus. Titulus libri tui est Lingua Latina. Liber tuus non antiquus, sed novus est.
Okay, let's have a read through that. Again, if you've just joined the stream, we are reading through the Lingua Latina series with the help of ScorpioMartianus YouTube channel. Go over and give him a subscribe. He's the one with the 2 red scorpions in his logo. He has 45,000 subscribers, and for good reason. He speaks some incredible Latin, has some great Latin pronunciation, and he's helping us to read through the Lingua Latina series here as we learn Latin. So these books here, if you haven't looked at these books before, Lingua Latina per se Illustrata. There's a couple of books, book 1 and book 2 at least, that I'm aware of, completely in Latin, but it's written in such a way and shows pictures to help you deduce the meaning without having to use any other language. And it uses some grammar marks, etc., and highlights points in the margins. It's a great way to learn. You find yourself learning automatically. So we're going through, we're practicing the pronunciations, and we are translating on the fly as we go along. So in this new sub part of the chapter here, Liber Tuus Latinas, it says, Ecce duo libri Latini, liber antiquus et liber novus. So that's, I guess we're looking to say that have a look at or see these 2 Latin books. And it says we have an old book and a new book. And it goes, Lingua Latina est primus liber tuus Latinus. Titulus libri tui est Lingua Latina. So, Lingua Latina is is your first Latin book, is the way I read that. So primus is first, because we have secundus, and what's third? Trecunda? Maybe. Who can clarify? If you're watching the stream right now, you can correct me in the chat. Lingua Latina is your first Latin book. And it says here, titulus libri tui est Lingua Latina. So this is a new word, titulus. Let's see if we can deduce the meaning from the rest of the sentence here. So it says, your book is Lingua Latina. And it's highlighted Lingua Latina, which we know is the title. Oh, maybe it's title. Titulus libri tui est Lingua Latina. So the title of your book is Lingua Latina. Well, I guess that makes sense. Good, okay, and it says, Liber tuus non antiquus sed novus est. So it's clarifying for us that your book is not old, but it is new. Cool, alright, let's continue on. Oh, wrong one. Over here. That's better.
In Lingua Latina sunt multae paginae, et multa capitula. Capitulum primum, secundum,
Tritium, there it is.
tertium,
Tertium.
cetera. Imperium Romanum est titulus capituli primi. Titulus capituli secundi est familia Romana. In capitulo secundo sunt 6 paginae. In pagina prima capituli secundi multa vocabula nova sunt.
Okay, so let's stop there before we run out of page. So it says, in Lingua Latina sunt multae paginae et multa capitula. Capitulum primum, secundum, tertium, cetera. So saying in Lingua Latina, so our book that we're reading right now, there are many pages, because we see the clue on the left-hand side in the margin, pagina, which is normally a feminine word. And when we make that a plural, it goes paginae. So multae paginae et multa capitula. And we know capitula from before, which means chapter. So there are many pages and many chapters. And it says, so there's the first chapter, second chapter, third chapter, and others. It says Imperium Romanum est titulus capituli primi. So Imperium Romanum is the title of the first chapter. Okay, good. And it says titulus capituli secundi est familia Romana. So the title of the second chapter is Familia Romana. In capitulo secundo sunt sex paginae, which means in the second chapter there are 6 pages. Has anybody clarified that? Are there in fact 6 pages in the second chapter? And says in pagina prima capituli secundi multa vocabula nova sunt. So in the first page of the second chapter there are many new words, I think is what that's saying. And so that's what it says. In the first page, second chapter, there are many new words. Vocabula, meaning words. So let's learn about those as he pronounces them for us.
Vir, femina, puer, puella, familia, caetera. Numerus vocabulorum Latinorum magnus est.
All right, we're nearly finished. The second chapter. Excuse me. So, finish off with the words. So it's vir, femina, puer, puella, familia, caetera. Numerus vocabularum Latinorum magnus est. So vir, man, femina, woman, puer, boy, puella, girl, familia, family, caetera, which is the others. So numerus vocabularum, vocabularum, number of Latin words is great. So Latinorum magnus est. The number of Latin words is great. Indeed it is. And there we go. And that concludes the second chapter of Lingua Latina. So we're doing very well. So we are going to start the third chapter now. While we set that up, we're going to take a short break. And we'll come right back. So you're watching the Australia Nova Romana channel of Provincia Australia of Nova Roma. I am Legatus Pro Patori Decumus Aurelius Ingeniarius. Proud to be here. Glad that you're joining us, whether you're watching live on Twitch or in the future on our YouTube channel. Don't go away. We'll be back very shortly to continue with Chapter 3 of Lingua Latina. Awesome. And we are back from our little break. Fantastic. Refill your cups of tea or coffee or whatever your preferred beverage is for learning Latin. Perhaps it is wine, which I believe is vinus. You can correct me out there in the internet world. Tell me, we can rubrum, so vinus rubrum, which I think is red wine. I think is right. Anyway, we're about to start the, which I believe is Tertia, the third chapter, if I've got that right. See, I'm trying to remember all my vocabulary now of vocabula, my words. Vocabula Latina, is that right? Let's listen to the start of this chapter. We'll continue with our practice pronunciations and then our translations on the fly. So this is all brand new for me. Haven't seen this yet. Let's see how we go.
Capitulum tertium.
Capitulum tertium. There we go. And we see a picture here. Let's study this picture here for a moment. So we have puer improbus. I don't know what that word means yet, but I guess we'll learn. So we hear Marcus, which appears to be a little bit distressed with Julia. Julia making some words. And Quintus is over here as well, looking perhaps a bit distracted, or I don't know. We'll see what happens. Here we go.
Puer improbus. Scaina prima.
Scaina prima. Interesting.
Personae. Julia, Marcus, Quintus.
So I got a new word, scaina, which I don't know what it means yet. So the first something. I always want to say it means the first scene or the first story, perhaps. Scaina. And then we see personae or persona. So I guess that means persons or people involved. And I guess the fact that it's listing Julia, Marcus, and Quintus, it kind of is reading a bit like a script, isn't it? Let's continue on, and maybe we can pick up what these words mean a little bit later.
Julia cantat. La la. Julia laetast.
So Julia cantat. Again, that's another new word. Don't know what that means, but perhaps that means says. La la. Right, so perhaps she says or sings la la. Julia laeta est. So Julia is saying or is singing, perhaps. Hopefully we'll learn these words.
Marcus. St. Marcus laetus non est.
Okay, so we see this laetus word, st, which is some sort of exclamation. I think I'm getting the impression that Marcus doesn't like what Julia is doing. Marcus laetus non est. So Julia is lighting and Marcus is not lighting. So laetus, laeta. It will be interesting to see what that means. And perhaps Lala, as Julia is saying, or cantat, which I think is what that means. That's what she's doing, but Marcus isn't doing that. And this explanation of st is, I'm not sure what that means. Maybe it's like a sigh or something. We'll see. Anyway, let's go on.
Julia cantat. La 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 la.
I like how he peeks to mimic that, and she's continuing to do that.
Marcus. St. Marcus iratus est.
That word looks familiar. Iratus. Marcus iratus est. I want to say that Marcus is angry or irate. That's the English word that looks like he's irate. Marcus is irate. We're getting the vibe here that Marcus is not happy with the actions of Julia, who appears to be singing or making words. And this st or st is perhaps our equivalent of shh, is I think what that means. But he's saying it, doing it quite aggressively. So he's going shh, shh, is what I think that means. Now over here in the column it says Marcus Juliam pulsat. Marcus Juliam pulsat. So, what's the action here? He appears to be threatening her, maybe even hitting her. Heaven forbid. It's hard to tell. Chastising her, maybe. And there's this M. That's been now. Pulsat's a new word. We don't know what that means yet, but we see M. It's kind of So Marcus is doing something with Julia here. Can't quite deduce what's going on with the picture, but let's continue to see what we can work out.
Julia cantat. La 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 la. Marcus Juliam pulsat.
The way he says that too. So Marcus Juliam pulsat. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, so it appears that he may have struck her or hit her.
Iam Julia non cantat, sed plorat. Ooh!
So, iam Julia non cantat, sed plorat. So, iam Julia. So Julia is no longer singing or stating or whatever cantat means, but is now plorat, or in pain, and she's deduced, I guess, some level of pain. So we can only work out that Marcus has hit his sister, and then Marcus ridet. He appears to be laughing at that.
Marcus ridet. Ha ha ha.
So the margin is trying to emphasize some words for us here. So it has Julia plorat, Marcus ridet, Quintus Marcum videt, and Marcus quintum non videt. So relationship between Quintus and Marcus here, videt. Again, lots of new words here. So yeah, hard to deduce what this means yet, but let's read on.
Quintus Marcum videt. Marcus non videt quintum.
So let's see, videt. What does this mean? So it's saying that Marcus did not something Quintus was not aware of, did not see, perhaps. I want to say see. Marcum. Yeah, this UM ending is new. Yeah, and then we have Quintus.
Quintus. Quid Marcus puellam pulsat et ridet.
So quid is what? I believe. So Quintus is saying what? Marcus puellam pulsat. So again, he's referring to puella, a girl, pulsat. And we saw before that may have been hit. So, so this is Quintus stating this. So Marcus has hit a girl, is what I'm guessing that means. And there's and ridet, which may mean laugh, because if we go back up a little bit further, so let's scroll back up the page to here. So we see that Marcus ridet here, and he goes ha ha ha. So ridet, I anticipate, means laugh. So Quintus has seen Marcus do this. So Marcus has hit his sister Julia and is laughing. So Juliam pulsat. So Marcus hit Julia. And we see the use of M and pulsat here. So the M ending of the thing being hit, maybe, and pulsat, which means to hit or to strike or to punch. Some sort of physical contact here. And I guess this is being, maybe it's slap even. It could be slap. So we see that in the margin, Marcus Juliam pulsat. So Marcus slapping Julia. Let's assume it's slapping, because Julia is obviously not happy with what's occurred. So we are accepting that if somebody is slapping somebody, which it could be, if that's what pulsat means, the action on the someone, there is this M ending on the end of the word, Julia. So Julia was the one being slapped or pulsated here. So Marcus Julian pulsat, so Marcus slaps Julia. And then after the action occurs, she obviously stops going la la la. So it's iam Julia non cantat. So what she was doing before was cantat. So I guess maybe that would mean implied singing. So she was either saying or singing. So cantat means to sing. Now there's plorat. So plorat, which I can only mean is now either quiet or upset. We do mention plorat a little bit further up, if I'm not mistaken. There's this other word, laita and laitus. I'm not sure what that means. Eratus is another new word that we haven't yet clarified, but I guess is obviously upset or angry with her singing. So, and we can, and plorat, we can only mean is something to do with either being quiet or upset, something along those lines. So let's go back down, and let's see if we can deduce what these mean. Hang on, I'm about to sneeze. So quintus Marcum videt, Marcus non videt quintum. And then Quintus says, quid Marcus puellam pulsat. So I guess we're saying that Marcus hit a girl and laughed, is what we're deducing from that part of the sentence.
Quintus Marcum videt. Marcus non videt quintum. Quintus. Quid Marcus puellam pulsat, et ridet. Quintus iratus est, et Marcum pulsat. Ja. Non ridet Marcus.
It'd help if I have my microphone on. So Quintus iratus est et Marcum pulsat. So we can deduce here that Quintus is angry or irate and slaps Marcus. So et Marcum pulsat. We see the ending there. We see the clues again over here in the margin. It says iam non ridet Marcus. So he's stating this as well. So I'm starting to think this iam is like do. So do not laugh Marcus. Is I think is what that means. Now let's go back to that page and let's see the first instance of that. See if do fits in there. Where did we see that before? Iam. So iam Julia non cantant sed plorat. Did or do Julia not sing but is now silent? We don't really know what plorat means yet. And she's exclaimed, I guess, a sign of pain. And this appears to be instruction as a part of what appears to be a scene. So, do Julia not singing, but now quiet, is what we're guessing here. And she goes, ugh. And then Marcus laughs, ha ha ha. So, I suspect that iam means to do as a type of action, I guess. Okay, let's
Mater!
let's go back just a little bit. Let's see what's being said. Here we go.
Ubiest mater.
So Marcus iratus polsat quintum. So right. So do not laugh, Marcus. And then Marcus, angry, slaps Quintus. And we see a slightly different word order to this sentence here. Wow. Bit of a fight going on. Holy dooly. So Julius come back in, says,
Julia Emilian non videt.
oh, hang on. Let's go back a little bit. I want to hear that sentence again.
Datus pulsat quintum.
Slap.
Julia. Ubiest mater.
So Julia asks, where is mother? And fair enough, when fight breaks out between the children.
Julia Emilian non videt.
So, let's contemplate this next little bit here. Julia Emiliam non videt. We see that videt word again here. So, Julia, and it's referring, so Julia's presence, and she's asking where the mother is. Amelia is her mother, and there's an action with the M again here. So there's something being performed perhaps on Amelia. Does not something. So if she's asking about mother, I'm starting to think with our original deduction that it means to see. So Julia does not see Amelia. Or does not look for Amelia, or does not see Amelia. Let's read on.
Julia Emiliam vocat. Mater! Marcus quintum pulsat.
So, Julia Emiliam vocat. So again, there's an action being performed to or at Amelia. So this is Julia, so the daughter to the mother. And vocat can only mean talks to or orates something here. And she says, Marta, so mother, Marcus quintum pulsat. So Marcus quintum, so an action being performed to Quintus. So Marcus hit Quintus. So obviously she's siding with Quintus, who came to her aid apparently originally. So Marcus has slapped Quintus as she's appealing to her mother. All right, I think we're getting it. Slowly as we read through the chapter. This is good.
Marcus iratus st. Marcus Juliam pulsat.
Gee whiz it, these kids just never ending fight. So Marcus being angry, so aratus is what we're deducing there, or irate. He goes st. I think that means like shush. And Marcus Juliam pulsat. So Marcus slaps Julia again. Holy dooly. This is incredible.
Julia plurat et Emiliam vocat. Mamma, Marcus me pulsat.
So Julia plorat et Emiliam vocat. So we saw that plorat word before, which either means quiet or now upset. Essentially, it's not singing as what she was originally doing, but so Julia, perhaps sad or upset, and talking to her mother or talking at her mother, mama, which we also means Martha here. So like we say mama or mama. Marcus me pulsat. So Marcus hit or slapped me. And we see Amelia Wenit.
Aemilia venit.
Amelia Wenit. And we see a scene here. So we have Marcus quintum pulsat. So Marcus slaps Quintus. Julia Aemiliam vocat. So Julia speaks or talks to Amelia. So again, there's the M or UM action. So if it's feminine, so we see an AM ending. If it's masculine action on a masculine object, it's a UM ending. And then we see this Amelia Wenit. So, and oh look, the picture, there's a foot coming in. So I wonder if when it means arrives, comes, or enters. Because I think this is talking about a scene. Scena secunda, so the second scene. So I reckon it's a little bit of a scene. So Amelia now comes in. Amelia enters, and I think that's what Amelia Wenit means. This is good, okay.
Scaina secunda personae Aemilia, Julia, Marcus, Quintus.
Okay, so the second scene, the people in this scene is Aemilia, so the mother, Julia, the daughter, Marcus and Quintus, the two sons. Let's have a look.
Aemilia interrogat. Quis me vocat?
So Amelia interrogat. So Amelia, action in the scene is she interrogat, which I think means asks a question. And she says, Quis me vocat? So who's talking to me? Or who calls me? And then Quintus responds, or respondent.
Quintus respondit. Julia te vocat.
So we know that Quintus and Julia here, or Quintus is defending Julia, and he says, Julia was calling for you. So Julia called for you, or so this te here. I think it's Julia asked for you, or Julia called to you, or Julia is talking to you. Te.
Aemilia quint interrogat. Cur Julia plorat.
So in the next part of the scene here says Amelia quintum let's try and get this pronunciation. Interrogat. Maybe too many of the R sounds. Let's go back just a little and hear him pronounce that again.
Julia te vocat.
Not far.
Rogat. Quis me venit? Scaina secunda personae Aemilia, Julia, Marcus, Quintus. Aemilia interrogat.
Interrogat. Okay, that's better. Aemilia quintum interrogat. So Amelia asks a question or interrogates Quintus, and she says, Cur Julia plorat. So we see this cur here, which appears to be maybe an equivalence of quia, so which is, I believe, to be who, but we see a slightly different version here. So we see this cur or cur, Julia plorat. So who hit Julia? Maybe. So let's read on.
Quis me vocat? Quintus respondit. Julia te vocat. Aemilia quint interrogat. Cur Julia plorat.
So we have Quintus respondent responds with Julia plorat, qui Marcus iam polsat. So Julia hit quia Marcus. Oh, so this is quia here. Maybe that's the answer. So the question, the answer. So quia Marcus iam polsat. So Julia was hit by Marcus is really what I want to say here. Who cur Julia plorat. I really want to say who hit Julia. Quintus responds, Julia was slapped by Marcus. We've got polsat and plorat. Maybe I'm confusing words. Let's go back and have a look further up here. So polsat means to slap. Is that hitting?
Parvam puer.
Hang on. We're not ready to go on. So polsat is to slap. So plorat is a word that I'm not familiar with. Have we seen plorat before now? Plorat. I don't think so. So maybe plorat is a new word. Plorat is a new word here. So something Julia plorat. Quintus responds with Julia something. So responding in the question, quia Marcus iam polsat. So Marcus hit her. I think that's what ia means, is her. So there are some words being said here we don't quite know, but Marcus hit her. So and then let's listen to the mother response.
Pulsat. Aemilia plorat. Cur Julia plorat. Quintus respondit. Julia plorat, quia Marcus eam pulsat. Aemilia. Quid puer parvam puellam pulsat? Fu, cur Marcus Juliam pulsat.
There's some clarification in the margin. So iam means uliam, so the action being performed on her is, I guess, what we're asking. So Amelia says quid. I think she goes, what? Puer parum, puellam pulsat. So pulsat we know is hitting. So boys hitting small girls is what I read from that sentence. What? A boy hitting a small girl. So parum, so the description is matching the action being performed on the girl here of the pulsat, which is the slapping. What? A boy hits a small girl. Fu, some sort of explanation here as perhaps in disbelief. Cur Marcus Uliam pulsat. And I guess she clarifies here. Marcus, she asks a clarifying question. So Marcus slapped Julia.
Quintus. Quia Julia cantat.
So he says, quia Julia cantat. So Quintus says that Julia was, and I think cantat means to sing. Julia is singing, or Julia was singing. I'm not quite sure what this quia means. Qui. We have seen qui before. We have que and qui. And that has escaped from my vocabulary. So I might have to read the compendium, the companion to this book series to remind myself what this is talking about. But I can deduce Quintus is clarifying that Julia was probably singing, which is we understand to be cantant, or cantant means, cantat.
Aemilia. Oh, Julia, mea parva filia.
Oh, Julia, mea parva filia. She says, oh, as in the way we might say, oh, Julia, my small daughter. Filia, my small daughter, my small child daughter.
Marcus puer probus non est. Marcus est puer improbus.
Right, so we see this word improbus, and it has an opposite probus, and the mother here says Marcus is not a something boy. Marcus is the opposite of that. So probus, what does probus mean? And improbus. So based on the actions that we've seen, it's either a good boy or a bad boy, is behaved, is not behaved. Marcus is a misbehaving boy. Marcus puer pro, so it says is not a good boy, but maybe is a bad boy, is not a behaving boy, and it just implies it's just saying the same thing twice, but once with a negative. But we're roughly starting to deduce what it means here. Interesting. Okay, let's have another sip of tea before we go on the next page. So at the bottom of page 20 of the Lingua Latina per se Illustrata Cap 3, which is puer improbus for those following along at home. Let's see if we can't do some more here.
Quintus. Julia puella probast. Aemilia quint interrogat. Ubi est Julius? Cur non venit? Aemilia Julium non videt.
Alright, let's see if we can pull from here. So Quintus says Julia puella proba est. So we see proba, it's a new word, not familiar with it is, but she says Julia, so Julia, or the girl, is a something girl. So proba, if we have back to this previous page here, so we have probus. So we're getting some more definition of this word here in the next sentence. So Quintus is exclaiming that Julia is perhaps a behaving girl, is a good girl, is a proud girl. There's some. It's a positive word. I understand proba and probus or improbrus, or rather probus, not improbus. So probus and proba is some sort of positive characteristic of the child. And then Aemilia quintum interrogat. So Aemilia questions Quintus again here. It says, ubi est Julius? So where is your father, essentially? Where is Julius? And says, cur non venit. Now we don't quite know what this cur means yet, but is he not here? Is how I read that sentence. Venit, because we saw at the end of the last scene, the mother enters, which we'll leave what that venit means. Is he not here? And we see that cur Julius non venit. We're getting this question over here. There's another way, I guess, of asking that question. Look who has joined us in the channel stream. Salve Lentuli, welcome to the stream this evening. Yes, practicing our Lingua Latina, listening to our friend on the YouTube channel here, ScorpioMartianus, and his channel, and practicing our Latin pronunciation and trying to deduce the meaning of the words as we go through here. No doubt, for those that don't know, Lentulus on stream here is a very, very proficient speaker of Latin, so he'll be cringing with all my pronunciation and my either misunderstanding of words. But I guess this is a part of the process with this particular book, is slowly trying to gain an understanding through my what's the word I'm searching through? But yeah, slowly over time, deducing from the language what we're reading through here. So continuing on, finishing off. So Aemilia Julium non videt. So that is again that M, which we're deducing to be some sort of action on the word. So Aemilia does not see Julius is what I think that means. So videt means, I think, to see or to have some sort of visual on, but doesn't see that. So Aemilia does not see Julius, where we're making an observation on Julius here. And that's why she asked the question. So ubi est Julius? Okay, let's move on.
Respondit Marcus, pater dormit. Quintus, mater non te, sed me interrogat. Aemilia, st pueri, ubi est pater? Quintus, pater non hic est, sed Marcus hic est.
Okay, so let's see what goes on here. So Marcus responds to the question, parte dormit. So a new word, dormit, but if we look further down, we see what appears to me a man laying down, Julius dormit, which I guess to means Julius sleeping. So parte dormit, which means father is sleeping, is what Marcus is responding with. It's weird, Marcus hasn't really tried to defend his actions yet to his mother. So Quintus says, Martu non te, sed me interrogat. So Quintus says something about his mother, but my question, but question me. So Quintus says something about his mother, te, but question me. So I think Quintus is essentially trying to keep the attention of his mother and say, hey, you need to ask me some questions here. Marta non te sed me interrogat, but question me. Something, yeah, that's. I'm not quite happy with what te or te means here, but I guess Quintus is still trying to garner attention here and ask to be questioned some more. Now here we go. So one of our other good senators come on, my magistra, says it's not you, but so interrogate means ask. It's good. So that's the direct translation. Not it's ask. So as opposed to question, but it actually means ask. Good. Okay. Interrogat means ask. Excellent. But ask me. So te. So that means, because we're referring to Julius here, means him maybe. So mother, not him, but ask me, is perhaps what Quintus is then saying there. And then yes, there we go. So yes, there we go. So the good senator has clarified that for us. Perfect. So and then Amelia says pueri. So I think it's boys. Ubi est pater. So where is your father? Where is not your father? But where is the father? And Quintus replies, pater non hic est, sed Marcus hic est. Father is not something, but is something about Marcus, where Quintus says to or speaks to Julium, so in other words, addressing his father, pater. Okay, so what else have we said here? So te is you. Te is you in essentially modern English. So te is etymologically the same word as English the. Oh, interesting. You. So so what was? So what we're saying is not you, mother, but ask me. Okay, very good. Learning on the fly here. And right, that's a new word for us as well, which is hic. Now, has he told us how to pronounce that properly yet?
Quintus Iulium vocat. Pater, pater.
Right, so Quintus is now summoning for his father, which is who's asleep right now. So, very good. That's good. So I have two incredible Latin speakers in the chat right now assessing me. So no pressure. So I think there's still 2 or 3 words that we're not completely comfortable with what they mean yet, but we see it a few times further on. So let's see what we can continue to deduce here. Now, over in our column on the right-hand slide here in the margin, so we see the ne-que here. So we know that ne ending is a type of question clause put on the end of a word, and we also know that que ending, que, is another way to say and. So that's saying, let's have a look. Here is equal to not and. Interesting. And then brackets is clarifying the ne ending is equal to non. So we're saying not and in this case. Interesting. Now we saw before, so this is an extension of what we saw before, so ium quintum, so an action on Quintus or something happening to him. And then Julius dormit is, I guess, where Julius is sleeping here. Some clarity. So anyway, let's continue on to see what we've got. Here we go. Let's go to the bottom of this page, and then we might just revise some of the things we've learnt.
Julius quintum non audit neque venit. Cur Julius quintum non audit. Julius eum non audit, quia dormit.
Okay, so let's just digest what we've seen there. So Julius quintum non audit. That looks very similar to the word audit. Nauque venit, cur Julius quintum non audit. Let's just go back and hear that pronunciation one more time.
Tum non audit neque venit.
Audit.
Cur Julius
Neque venit. Audit. Neque venit. Okay.
quintum non audit.
Audit. Okay. So we let's see if we can deduce what's happening here. So Julius, so the father, what we know who's to be the father. Quintum, so something to Quintus here. Non something. So we have 2 new words here. So neque and audit, and there's no clues necessarily yet in the inside margin, but we see the when. So we understand that to be something about it being present or is here, and then we see the cor Julius quintum non audit. Julius did not something about Quintus, or maybe did not hear Quintus, because who was calling out for him before? I thought it was Marcus that was calling out for him. Let's just zoom up a bit. Who was calling out for the father? Oh, it was Quintus. So Quintus was calling out for his father. So we see in the last line here, Quintus Julium vocat. So is speaking to or calling out. That's what we've deduced right now for vocat to mean. Oh, here we go. Some more clarification in the chat. So think audio visual. So audit is to hear, and windit is to see. Cool. So that's called audio. Audit. So that means then, if we go back down, it's clarifying whether the father has perhaps heard us or not. So, yeah, I thought it was Marcus calling for it. No, but in fact it was Quintus, and even the margin tells us that. So Quintus Julium vocat. So Quintus is calling out or asking for, vocalizing for his father Julius. So Julius Quintum non audit neque venit. So what I'm starting to deduce here now, noting that audit means something to do with audio or hearing. So Julius does not hear where he currently is does not hear Quintus. So there's some other words here that neque is new. Cur Julius Quintum non audit. So, and then there's that word again here, neque. And neque and doesn't when it means to come, and doesn't hear and doesn't come. So Julius Quintum non audit. So Julius doesn't hear Quintus and doesn't come. Right. Neque. So Julius Quintum non audit. So Julius does not hear Quintus. We know that when it means to enter or to come. So we saw that from when the mother was entering the scene. Neque, and we just had the clarification there, and doesn't. Silly me. So it's in the margin over here, right? So we read that but didn't actually realise when it appeared in the text. So it's right. It's important to pay attention to the clues in the margin. So neque et non, and non or et, and no or and doesn't, as we see here. So that was the big clue here, right? Duh. What's the word we saw before there? Fu. So Julius Quintum non audit neque venit. So Julius, the father, he doesn't hear Quintus shout out for him, and subsequently doesn't come. And so cur Julius Quintum non audit. Does Julius not hear Quintus? Is what I'm starting to pick up from that second sentence there. Right, yes. All learning. So let's continue to listen.
Julius Quintum non audit neque venit. Cur Julius Quintum non audit. Julius eum non audit, quia dormit.
Julius eum non audit, quia dormit. So Julius does not hear. He is sleeping, or is that quia? So again, it's clarifying from the previous sentence. It's essentially telling us that he's still sleeping. Julius eum non audit. Julius, he does not hear. Quia is because. Right. Julius he does not hear because he is sleeping. Which makes sense based on the scene and what's being said. Okay.
Marcus. Hai, pater dormit neque te audit.
And then Marcus comes in and says, he laughs, he goes, father is sleeping and doesn't hear. And he doesn't hear. And I guess he's happy about that, because Marcus is, I guess, the culprit in this scenario here. And perhaps if the pater did hear, he would perhaps rain down disciplinary terror. That's maybe why Marcus is perhaps happy here.
Aemilia. Fu puer. Aemilieratast. Mater filium verbarat. Tux tax.
Right, what's happening here?
Marcus plorat.
So there's some discipline being issued out here by Amelia, the mother. So she goes, fu, puer. I imagine that fu is some sort of let's see, negative explanation, but maybe like silly boy or stupid boy is what's being said here. Amelia irata est. So Amelia is angry or irate. That's what the word looks like. Irata, or irate or angry. Mata filium verberet. Let's get that pronunciation right. Let's go back.
Fu, puer. Ai miliratast. Mater filium verbarat. Tux tax, tux tax.
Tux tax. That's interesting. I can only, it sounds like something physical is happening, perhaps some more slapping. And Marcus plorat is obviously now in some sort of pain. So verberat is equal to pulsat et pulsat. So apply some sort of hitting here. So yeah, Marcus is a bad boy. Yeah. Beat. Right. So verberat beat Romans. It was a beat that Romans were taught. Okay. So the mother and the action being applied to the sons here. So the mother beats the sons. The Romans are tough, and then we see this tux tax. So the pulsat, so pulsat and pulsat, tux tax. So I guess that sounds like onomatopoeia. Is that perhaps a little bit of onomatopoeia there? So the sound of slapping, perhaps, or the discipline being issued. Beats the son. Then Marcus responds with the Okay, and then
Marcus plorat. Julius evaudit. Iam non dormit pater.
Okay, so Julius iam audit. So Julius he hears and it says iam non dormit pater. So so this is like an action. So I guess as we deduce, this is some sort of scene that's occurring, and there are some scene instructions happening here, and it's describing to us what's happening. So iam non dormit pater. So the father. So the action that's occurring now is the father is now no longer asleep. So iam means him. There we go. So Julius and the action performing on him. So Julius now hears the sound reaches him. So Julius hears the sound, or the sound comes to him, and now the father is no longer asleep. Yes, Julius hears him. There we go. Julius hears him. Him being Marcus, and I guess all the other sounds coming from perhaps another room of the house. There you go. So Ium, and even the margin gives us the clue again. Ium is Marcum, or Marcus in this case. So Julius is actually hearing Marcus. And I guess his cries of pain, and is at the bottom of that particular page. Okay, so let's go. Now that we've read through half of that chapter so far, I'm going to go back to the beginning and see if we can continue to clarify some of the words that we've learned here. Yeah, there you go. Marcus is crying. Okay. So we have scena prima. So what I think means first scene. And I guess I'll probably be corrected on that in a minute.
Julia cantat. La la.
So with the people involved, so Persona, Julia, Marcus, and Quintus are in this first scene here. And Julia cantat, so is la la. So, and I think we deduced that Julia is singing, cantat. So, that's my guess, magistra, that cantat means singing, so Julia going la 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 la, sounds very similar to English, so we're currently guessing that, there you go, she is singing, right, so the instruction in the scene, Julia cantat, she is singing la la, and then we see this word here,
Julia laetast.
Julia laeta est, and then Marcus says,
St. Marcus laetus non est.
So, from what I recall, this is the only time we see this word. So, Julia laeta est, and he goes, shh. and it clarifies for us that Marcus laetus non est. So he is not doing something, and Julia is doing something. There we go. So laeta means happy. There we go. Now, I wonder if that features later on in the chapter, but that was a word that escaped me here. It looked very similar to the la-la-ing that was happening. But based on what we initially see here, that Marcus is not in a good mood right now. Right, so there we go. So laetus, the masculine version, and laeta, the feminine version, meaning to be happy. Okay. That's some good clarification. Right, and the non-laetus meaning he's not happy.
Julia canta. La 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 la.
He continues to sing.
Marcus. St. Marcus iratus est.
And I guess this is clarifying for us the position, so if we can really tie this together. So it says up here that Marcus is not something which we now know to be not happy, and it clarifies for us here that Marcus is in fact angry, iratus, with a masculine form here. So he is not, because I guess, and he's masculine, so he's not happy.
Julia canta.
Continues to sing.
La 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 la. Marcus Juliam pulsat.
Right, so, and based on the sound that we hear here and the clue in the margin, so we said before there's some sort of physical contact happening here. So Marcus Juliam pulsat, and we deduced that there is an action occurring on Julia, and there's this M ending that's applied to the word to show that something is occurring to Julia. That's our thought thinking at the moment. So Marcus, and we have deduced, I think we mean slap or to hit. So Marcus has hit Julia, and that we hear that sound in the background.
Iam Julia non cantat, sed plorat. Ooh!
So it's a iam Julia non cantat. So the action here is Julia is no longer happy. She is, but she's now plorat, which means sad or upset. The opposite of laeta. She's now plorat potentially. That's maybe what that means, because we saw that plorat later on in the first half of this chapter. So that it could mean she's crying. There you go. So I was close. And I think you even clarified before that. You already said that already, I think. Yeah. So a little bit extra further from sad. In fact, she is in fact crying. And we see that in the pictures here. So I guess the clues are there in the book. You just got to piece them together. So she's been hit by Marcus. She's now crying. And we can, so she's no longer singing. Plorat means she's crying. Ooh, and right, and there's the words there. Ooh, yeah, as if somebody is crying. Okay.
Ooh. Marcus ridet. Ha ha ha.
And right, and so we deduced pretty early that ridet means is laughing. So Marcus, while laughing, says ha ha ha. Okay, so we see Julia plorat, she's crying. Marcus ridet, he's laughing. More clarification here. So Quintus Marcum videt. So Quintus sees Marcus, I think is what we're saying here. And then Marcus Quintum non videt. So Marcus does not see Quintus. And I guess that is deduced from what we see here in the picture.
Quintus Marcum
There we go. So, and the scene is clarifying exactly what's happening on stage here right now for us.
videt. Marcus non videt Quintum.
Okay, so now Quintus, having seen all this, is now going to say some words.
Quintus. Quid Marcus puellam pulsat et ridet.
Oh, go back. No, we're not finished. We want to translate that sentence first. Here we go. So he goes, Quid. He goes, what? Marcus slaps a girl and laughs. As in, he can't believe what he's seeing. Marcus, you slaps a girl and laughs. Is what I'm picking up there.
Pulsat et ridet. Qui
And then
Quintus iratus est,
More
et
instructions for the
Marcum
scene.
pulsat. Ja non ridet Marcus. Marcus iratus pulsat quintum.
Okay, there's lots of physical activity happening here. So Quintus iratus est et Marcum pulsat, and we heard the slap sound there. So Quintus is angry and now slaps Marcus, and we heard that slap noise there. Iam non ridet Marcus. So it's now telling us that Marcus is no longer laughing, and fair enough if you've just been hit. Marcus iratus pulsat quintum. So Marcus, angry, now hits Quintus. And there's the slap. Ah, dear. Very physical scene, this one. But typical fighting siblings, right? Very good.
Julia.
Yeah, yeah. The sound effects of ancient Rome, yes.
Obest mater. Julia Emiliam non videt. Julia Emiliam vocat. Mater! Marcus quintum pulsat.
Okay, so Julia now says, "Where is mother?" Right, so she's in distress. She's looking for her mother. She goes, "Where's mum? Where's mother?" And it clarifies for us that Julia Emiliam non videt. So Julia does not see Amelia, cannot see her mother. And then it says Julia Emiliam vocat. So Julia speaking or calling to her mother, saying Mater Marcus quintum pulsat. So Marcus slapped or hit Quintus. And I guess that was the story that she's saying here, in that Quintus originally came to her aid. So, right. Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Marcus iratus st. Marcus Juliam pulsat.
More slang. Oh dear. So Marcus, and it's implying that he's angry. He's angry. He goes, "Tst." Marcus Juliam pulsat. We see that Marcus now slaps Julia. Ah, dear. Yeah, Marcus is terrible.
Julia plurat et Emiliam vocat. Mamma, mamma, Marcus me pulsat.
So it says, no, that's right. I think Magistra told us that Plura is crying. So Julia crying and calling for her mother Amelia, or calling for Amelia. She's saying, "Mama, Mama, Marcus hit or slapped me." And then here's that clue about that word "venit." We see in the picture the foot, which we can only assume is Amelia, coming into the room. She's heard the commotion or heard the cries of Julia and is now coming in. And I think that the margin is clarifying some activities for us. So Marcus quintum pulsat. So Marcus has slapped or hit Quintus. Julia Emiliam vocat. So Julia is calling for Amelia, and then Amelia enters. And then we move into the second scene. So let's go back through that again, make sure we're happy. So let's go through.
Aemilia venit. Scinas.
Roman justice will be administered. Oh, yeah, here we go. All right, and there's some clarification. So is hitting. Pulsat is hitting. Okay.
Secunda.
So second scene.
Personae. Aemilia, Julia, Marcus, Quintus.
So the second scene, the people in it are Amelia, Julius, Marcus, and Quintus. So the mother Amelia, the two sons, and the daughter.
Aemilia interrogat. Quis me vocat?
Right, pretty simple one to begin with. Amelia interrogat quis me vocat. So judging by the question, she doesn't actually know what's going on yet. But it says Amelia asks, who is talking to me or who called for me?
Quintus respondit. Julia te vocat.
So Quintus responds to his mother Amelia's question and goes, Julia called for you, or is talking to you.
Aemilia quint interrogat. Cur Julia plorat?
So Aemilia quintum interrogat. So Amelia asks of Quintus, specifically here,
Qui
cur Julia plorat. So why is Julia crying? I think is what I think I'm picking up from that. Why is Julia crying?
Quintus respondit. Julia plorat, quia Marcus eam pulsa.
Okay, so if cur means what did I just say that? But anyway, so Quintus responds here to his mother's question. Cur is why? Yeah, good. Yeah, that's good. I said it and then I forgot it. And I guess it's a good point to pick up over here in the margin. So cur, which we're determining means why. So his mother is asking of Quintus, why is Julia crying? And we see this quia over here as well. And then Quintus responds to Amelia, says, Julia plorat. So Julia is crying. And we'll see quia Marcus iam pulsat. So where ia or ia means her. So Marcus has struck her or Marcus has hit her. Quia is because. Right, so Julia is crying because Marcus has hit her. Right, so he's just articulating the scene here.
Sat Aemilia. Quid puer parvam puellam pulsat? Fu cur Marcus Juliam pulsat.
Right, so Amelia is learning what's going on. She goes, quid, she goes, what? A boy hits a small girl. Puer parvam puellam pulsat. Fu. And I want to say that's like silly or stupid or something along those lines. Okay, you're going to go teach Magistra. Thank you, gratias. Thank you so much for your awesome help again. Enjoy your lesson, your teaching. We'll talk again soon. Wale. Yeah. It's great fun, particularly this scene, and the audible slapping. So Amelia says, quid puer parvam puellam pulsat. A boy hits a small girl. Fu cur Marcus Juliam pulsat. So she says, why did Marcus hit Julia? And Quintus is going to respond.
Quintus. Quia Julia cantat.
So Quintus says, and we clarify before the queer is because Julia was singing.
Aemilia. O Julia, mea parva filia. Marcus puer probus non est. Marcus est puer improbus.
And then Amelia comes back, oh, Julia, my small girl, or my small daughter, Marcus puer probus non est. So Marcus is not a something boy, he's not a well-behaved or a good-mannered boy or something along those lines. Marcus is a improbus, puer, a boy that is not good. And we see probus and improbus are opposites of each other. So if you're not probus, you are improbus. And I guess we are, and that's the name of this title, right at the top. So if you go back, it was, the name of the chapter was Per Improbus. So it could be misbehaving boy or naughty boy, violent boy, something along those lines. It's talking about a misbehaving boy. All right, that's pretty good. So we've just gone over parts of the first half of the third chapter here, third capitula of Lingua Latina per se Illustrata. That's quite good. So we'll leave our lessons there for this evening. That's not a bad session. I hope you've enjoyed that. Whether you're watching this live on Twitch or if you're going to be watching this in the future on our YouTube channel, so you can go back again later with me, find out what my mistakes were. Send me a comment. Send me some pointers, perhaps as a DM. We'd love to hear your comments and feedback. And don't forget, go over to ScorpioMartianus, who we're following here on YouTube, who's helping us with our pronunciations as well. Yes, thank you to Cornelius Lentulus, who's joined us on stream in the chat as well. So it's great to see you, Amike, and to everybody here. Thank you very much for joining us on the Australian Nova Romana channel. Please check us out on Facebook, on Instagram, Ost Nova Roma. Check out our main website at novaroma.org. We would love to have you come and join us in our community, speak about all things Roman, whether that's language or food or clothing or history, currency, you name it. We'd love to have a conversation with you. We've recently had some people join us who love their ancient philosophy and some of the classics as well. And there's certainly room for you to join us. Have a look at our link for the Discord channel below. That's a great place to come and chat with many of our citizens live. But whether you're joining us either now or into the future, again, great seeing you. And until next time, walete.